All right, folks, we're back like we never left. Another episode of the small cap review here for us. Today was a super choppy way to start the week, but to be honest, you could kind of tell that was going to be the case from the pre-market action. Not a lot of good setups forming in the pre-market to play at open. So today I just kind of wanted to go over some of the names that were day one gappers, but kind of want to go over the setups that don't look good. I'll talk about DSY and KWE at the end. So if you're only looking to hear about the names that worked out, skip, 3/4 of the way through this video. But this will kind of be like what we look at when we go through pre-market, just to identify the names that we could be interested in. And today it just worked out that there was not many, if any, names that kind of fit that bill of, a really clean look. Definitely no A plus, no A, not even really a B setup to be found. So I'll actually start HOVR and I'll go through, like I said, kind of descending order of the gap percentage on some of these names. So HOVR, for me, the only way that it was going to be interesting just looking at this daily chart would be, the closest support here is in this daily zone down here. But the pre-market action made that even less appealing. We do get that dip in after hours yesterday. And then this gap up to this 140 level on the daily chart that comes from right over here. See that level is clearly respected, cannot hold it into open, and even breaks below this kind of pre-market low range here. And so when it's opening all the way down here, um, to be able to get through all this volume that was done above in pre-market is just not likely. And so really did not like the setup there. You do get the dip into the lower zone, but the volume just is not enough. And like I said, too much overhead volume done in the pre-market to make it interesting at all. So no interest going into open there. SPEC was one that I thought maybe you could scalp. Kind of same thing where you have just too much too much action done above it in pre-market. This big consolidation in pre-market, this big consolidation in after hours. So I thought maybe if you open above these levels or get above them, you could get a pop to retest and reject this daily gap level, or some of those pre-market or after hour zones. Let's pull it up on the daily and see what we can take from it. All right. So yeah, on the daily, you can see clearly it's opening below a bunch of key levels, which is not what you want to see, and it did not have support directly below it. It had support down here at 52 cents. So we end up actually, you know, played out really nicely where you get the rejection of the zone it opened right below, all the way back down to the zone below. But it actually does absorb, push highs, fake breakout. It kind of gets absorbed here, fades back a little bit, but gets absorbed and makes that secondary push up into the gap level in between these after hours and pre-market, excuse me, pre-market and after hour zones, and dead from there. So yeah, really, really light volume on this thing as well. So unless you're kind of playing the absorption of this candle, kind of joining the strength here, not really a play to be made there, and definitely not something I was looking to long into the open with all these levels directly above it. Um, let's see, HERI, just a historically, kind of crappy name. So, off the bat, the personality of this one. If you've been trading, it just, I've never had much luck on the long side to it. And this is definitely one where you look left, you're going to see candles that look like this. Even more recently, you have this one, you got this one. So what do you think is going to happen today when it gaps up? I think you have a pretty good idea, especially when it comes up and hits more key levels at the open. This kind of 14-cent level, the bottom of this consolidation here. Comes up to it in pre-market, rejects it twice, and no, no shot at the open. I really don't need to say any more about that name. It's just a lifelong member of the Turd Club. It's never gonna work. Let's see. This is one that was opening below it was a gapper, but was below the, yesterday's high. So, for that reason alone, I'm not going to be interested. Um, if it's not going to even be able to, it's opening in like the middle of yesterday's range, so it was never any good. I don't need to spend time on that. CLDI, um, had that pop in pre-market, and when you phrase it like this, it sounds like the kind of setup we're looking for, where higher volume at the pop and then low, low, low volume coming into the day, but had no levels of support under it, and levels of resistance above, light volume at the open, and never showed any strength. So even if the pre-market, setup was somewhat enticing, trying to get something, 23-ish, or trying to get a dip, it just never showed any strength. And by the time it opened, the gap, it was, what was it? 32%. So actually that's still not bad, but just so weak at the open, no support levels below it, and resistance above. So not exactly what we are looking for. TAOP, I don't even need to talk about the intraday chart. Let's look at the daily chart, see if we can get some clues. Gap up, no, high of day was the opening print. Gap up, barely spiked it all, gave it all back. Uh, Gap up, barely spiked it all, gave it all back. Let's see, gap up, absolutely massive fade. So you know what this thing wants to do, gap up, fade. Every single time this thing has gapped up, it has given absolutely nothing. Another example here. So another example here. So yeah, just look left on the daily chart. You can get the personality of these stocks. This was one that, this is a name you can just blindly short anytime it gaps, and you're probably going to be safe. So TAOP, lifelong member of the Turd Club as well. So other than that, I mean, I don't even think there's any names further down that we need to go over. Let's talk about the two names that were of some interest. So KWE to start, started late in the pre-market, but gave a straight up look. And because it was straight up and opening near the highs, was not really interested in the, trying to play the first couple candles. So you do get the only way that names like this could be a setup for me, which is, strong move above the highs and consolidation on top of the pre-market highs. So I actually did try to take some, and did, in this pre-market high range, looking for a breakout of these levels, but that of course did not happen. Um, the price action was pretty telling on this name. Once you got this big initial pop and this pullback, once you hit this pre-market zone and start getting this elevated volume again, you should be breaking out over a dollar, staying over a dollar, and making new highs. But you kept getting these, fake breakouts above a dollar, below a dollar, and I ended up taking pretty much a break even position on this trade. I just did not like this price action, so I was out 3/4, a little bit above my entry, and then set the stop at break even and got stopped out on this candle here. So small win, more like a break even trade, but the point of this is, with a straight up pre-market, that makes it so there's no support below. So when it's rejecting these levels and breaks through all this initial area of, all this volume, um, it's going to be a clean fade from there. And now we do get this kind of bottoming out pattern here, but this is after a 40% fade on the name. If we look at the daily chart, the levels were really clear on this one. We'll start at the top here, where it ran into trouble, is a daily level as well as a gap close level in the bottom of this consolidation. So clear place for it to have some trouble. You have the gap open, which also lines up with this daily pivot here, and clear pivots here to the downside. So all these levels, and this gap as well, kind of played their part in the day. Where we are getting up above these levels in the pre-market. We actually halt down below this one and are coming up to retest that halt level here. Daily gap was support, and resistance, and then the bottom daily level obviously is the bottom of the chart here. So clean name to the short side. Did a good job of trapping longs, trying to get that dollar break and bagging them all really quickly. So that's why you have stops. DSY was the name I was most interested in simply because of the range from this 410 level, which I wanted to see it above, to the opening or to this daily zone above, about 40% move there. So for me, it had to be over 410 to be interested in trading the name. Let's look at the daily chart. These names can be headaches when you have a chart like this where it's super fresh. Um, they can do crazy, crazy things, especially when this is, I don't even know what kind of volume, like no volume, highest volume day, barely over a million before this, and now we're getting a 40 million day, and it's 9:30 in the morning Mountain Time. So highest volume, so it had a chance to do something crazy, but like I said, that 410 level, which just comes from this down pivot, was kind of the area of interest for me that it had to be over. So big rejection of it at open, so was off radar until it got back above. And here I did try to take some at VWAP, and I stopped out below 410. People running this did a good job of, kind of rejecting this 410, faking it to the downside, stopping out anyone using kind of this obvious level as a risk point, and then finally making that move that we were looking for. So you also get, you know, both on this move here on this candle, and then on this secondary move here as well off the 410 level. The level was the one to be important to be keyed in on. They were just very tricky with how they ran the stock today. So that about does it. I mean, there's nothing else that's really of interest. There's things that didn't gap that ran, like MGOL, and what was it? There's another one too, like RENB. But yeah, when there's no gap, there's no reason for it to be on radar, and when it's not on radar, you can only see it when it's hitting scans, which means you're probably chasing if it doesn't give a real setup. Well, that's not even the right ticker, MLGO. Yeah, so I mean, it's not gonna, it's not on my scanner at open. Just doing this action, which is the only place I trade it, but of course you see it when it's unhalted, and I'm not gonna be chasing a backside name out of a halt up, even if you do get, an okay move afterwards. So anyway, just going on now. But today again was a day that was super choppy. One to protect profits. It's kind of a win if you're break even or if you're small win or small loss. Like any day. Only thing you can't do is take a big loss. Bad for the account, bad for your head. So KWE will be interesting. I would, if I was a betting man, which I guess we all are, I would say we are going to reject this zone here and finish back towards the lows again. But maybe this is going to do something crazy. Maybe it'll be back over a buck, and we're going to be talking about this again tomorrow. So hope you guys stayed safe today. Hope you guys did not rush into anything at the open to start your week on a bad note. The good news is there's 4 more days ahead. So thanks for tuning in. Sorry for a video about how things did not work today. Hopefully we get some better opportunities in the days to come. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.